updates. The house is super echoey right now, so I don't know if you can hear the echo, but it's really empty. Like, we have hardly anything in here right now, but we're making the best of it, and I'm doing lots of projects and stuff. If you haven't seen all of the projects that I've been doing sewing projects for the kids, and kind of tidying up the house a little bit, and other things that have been really fun, just not at all related to my job, which is okay. It's okay. It's fun. It's wonderful. I'm trying to decide if I should. Can you guys see me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? So my friend Catherine had this really funny suggestion for me to do my makeup and talk at the same time. So I'm going to try that today and see what happens, because I think it's funny. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I have my stuff here. I have all my makeup here, which you can't actually see the makeup, but this is some of my stash of stuff, which doesn't make any sense because I don't really wear makeup that often. So I don't know why I have so much, but I do. It's here, and I don't really use it that often. But I'm going to use it today while we chat about college composition and specifically plagiarism. And normally on my Fun Fact Fridays, I do this in my private group, and I usually talk about like a fun fact. It's not always fun. That's probably a bad way to describe it, but it's something that's going on in the world, so a current event type thing that I try to delve into a little bit and just talk about it from my perspective, share my thoughts, try to get your thoughts on things, etc., etc. So I'm going to do that today while talking about composition and plagiarism, specifically as it relates to the recent shooting in in Buffalo, which isn't even the most recent one. Like, when I had the thought to do this, I thought about Buffalo, and then I think another one just happened last night. So this isn't even the most recent one, and I haven't even gotten a chance to watch the news this morning to find out what happened. So feel free to share information about what happened in last night's shooting in the comments, and I will see those and learn something from you today too. Before I get into that, I will say that I'm not a professional makeup artist. I'm literally just going to be playing around with this and trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, I do have that lip gloss that everybody was commenting on a couple weeks ago. It's Suva Beauty. It's a lipstick. It's called, so bad at this. It's called Fictional Reality. That's the name of the color. So I'm going to try and use that today along with whatever else I decide to do with my face. Also, my hair is ridiculously long. Can we address the elephant in the room? And if you're watching this live, you can take guesses as to how long it will take before I tie my hair back in a ponytail, because I never wear my hair down either.
Just a bun. Just a bun.
I don't put makeup on. I don't ever really do my hair. I just woke up this morning with the urge to flat iron my hair, and so here we are with flat ironed hair, about to put on makeup. Who am I? Why do I have so much time on my hands? I'm not teaching this summer. That's the answer. But I am drinking lots of coffee, and I'm also wearing my Sunbasket t-shirt that I got for free from Sunbasket. They sent it to me along with some other swag, and I was super excited about that. So I'm gonna wear that all day today, representing Sunbasket and healthy food and eating and stuff. I also have my smoothie over here, my daily harvest smoothie, and these are fantastic. But I think I've decided that my favorites are pretty much all the ones with chocolate in them. Specifically, this one is the chocolate mint, which basically, it kind of tastes like a Thin Mint. It kind of tastes like a Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie, or I don't know, like a Shamrock Shake from McDonald's. Anyway, that's cool. All right. So, oh, and the other thing I wanted to say was that the Professor's Kitchen podcast is going really well. I recorded another episode last night, so that will be available on Monday. If you want more information about the Professor's Kitchen podcast, I will link that in the comments below this video so that you can check that out. But it is available anywhere you get your podcasts, so on Spotify and Apple Music and or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, all of those different places. So you can find the Professor's Kitchen podcast there. You can also find it on my YouTube channel, on the Professor's Kitchen YouTube channel. So it's in all those places. It's going really well. I've interviewed some really interesting people so far, and if you two would like to be interviewed, please let me know, and I will send you the link so that you can get on my calendar and you can add it to your calendar, and we can meet and chat and do all sorts of fun things. So I'm gonna start putting my makeup on, and don't laugh at me, please. I'm really bad at this. I'm gonna show you how bad I am at this. I get compliments on my makeup, but I don't know why. And I'm gonna show you what I do, because I don't wear foundation, and I don't put anything on my forehead, because I know people like to say black don't crack, but I have some, we'll call them deep grooves. I have like some deep grooves in here. I don't know if you can see them, but I don't put makeup on my deep grooves because the makeup settles into them and it doesn't like to come out. So yeah, that's that. All right, so while I was watching the news, which I do often, pretty much every morning, love Rachel Maddow, and I wake up every morning looking forward to finding out what she's talking about. And when I woke up to the news about the shooter in Buffalo, I found it really bizarre that for his age, that he had written such a very long manifesto. And it's not that I don't think that someone that age can write a manifesto, it's that I teach that age group, basically. I teach a lot of students who are around that age, and it's really hard to get them to write even like a 5-page paper, which it's hard. Like, writing a 5-page paper is hard. I'm not downplaying the significance of a 5-page paper. It takes a lot of effort, especially if you are already in the mindset that you're not a very good writer, you're no good at this, you're not interested in this, you'd rather be doing something else with your time because you're a young person and there are better things to do with your time when you're a young person. I get that. So the fact that this person was young and had already been evaluated in like his high school for violent tendencies or whatever, and he still managed to sit down and write this 180-page or something manifesto, I thought that was just shocking. I could not believe that he would do something like that. Like, that's just amazing. From a teacher's perspective, it's shocking that he would have just voluntarily written 180 pages. So I was taken aback by that fact, because again, I'm a teacher, and so I got hung up on that, and I was like, wow, you really were, wow. I'm slightly impressed by the fact that it was 180 pages long. So then, maybe a day or so later, there was a professor that came on, as a University of Chicago professor, that talked about the manifesto itself, and again, kind of talked about it from a professor's perspective, in the sense that students just don't do things like that. And her point was that about 90%, I think she said about 90% of the manifesto was lifted, and she used the word lifted, so I'm going to use the word lifted from another manifesto, like an older manifesto. that he found online somewhere. And so he basically plagiarized a good portion of this manifesto. And I'm like, now that sounds like something, that sounds more in line with what I think, and not all students, because not all students would do something like that, but many students, for many different reasons, plagiarize. And this semester alone, I had to deal with it more times than I care to, than I'd normally care to in one semester. I don't like dealing with plagiarism. I have a very firm policy in my syllabus that states that if you plagiarize the first time, you fail the assignment. The second time, you fail the class. And I'm really serious about it, but at the same time, I get that things come up. And again, it's not always a student's priority. Of course, school should be their priority, but they also have other things. And with the expectations that we have of students, the expectation, of course, that they are well-rounded individuals, and so they participate in sports and other extracurricular activities and things like that, I would definitely prefer that they not use that as an excuse, but it happens sometimes, and they feel pressured to turn something in instead of turning in something with substance, like something good in. And so they plagiarize, and plagiarism and academic dishonesty can be something as simple as just resubmitting an assignment that you turned into another professor or another teacher. And that definitely happens, I think, a lot more often than students just lifting information from a website. They just, sometimes I think it's being lazy. Oftentimes it's not. Oftentimes I do really truly believe that there was some sort of extenuating circumstance. Something happened and they weren't able to produce a brand new original work in the amount of time that either I provided for them or in the amount of time that they had to do the assignment or whatever. So typically what I do is I try to give students the benefit of the doubt. And even though my syllabus is very strict, I think, I will usually give students the opportunity to resubmit the first time. If they screw up once, shame on you. But okay, we'll work through that. I'm probably gonna totally screw this up, but we'll see what happens. Shame on you, but we're gonna work through it. We'll do the best that we can in order to get you through this very difficult challenge that you've put, this situation that you put yourself in, basically. And you'll try again, and then the next time, hopefully, you won't submit a plagiarized work. That's it. And that's my whole goal. I just don't want students, I want them to put forth an effort, and that's kind of the bare minimum that I have. The minimum expectation that I have is that they put forth some sort of an effort to do original work every single time. And I try to give them one opportunity to fix it, and then that's it. That's all you get. You get one time, and then that's it. Most of the time, that's enough. Like, it typically does not go any further than that. I don't usually have to fail a student for the entire class, which is so harsh, and especially with like dual credit students who are in high school at the same time that they're taking these college classes. So they have the pressures of high school, and they're also trying to take a college level class, and I'm not a high school teacher. I don't have the patience of a high school teacher. I purposely did not go to school to become a high school teacher because I didn't think that I had what it took to be a high school teacher. And now I happen to be in a position where I'm teaching high school students, but not necessarily teaching them high school level work. So they have to be able to complete the work, the assignments that I'm giving them at a college level. And fortunately, of course, it's a freshman level composition class most of the time. And so it should be right at their level. It should be what they're learning anyway. So I don't know. I always feel like I'm doing the right thing by giving them a pass, so to speak. And I do it across the board. I don't cherry pick, which students I think are going to be worthy of getting an extra chance at an assignment or anything like that. If it happens, the first time it happens, then okay, that's it. You get a freebie, don't do it again. They resubmit the work, and we call it a day. We don't have to do anything else beyond that. Now, on occasion, and this semester being the occasion, I don't know what happened this semester. On occasion, I do have to fail a student for the entire class. And that is not the best case scenario for anyone. I don't like doing it. I usually have to escalate the situation to the dean if something like that does happen. If it's a dual credit student, of course, it has to get reported to the dual credit coordinators and the school counselors at the high school and all this stuff. Like that's so much stress, it's so much pressure, and I always still feel like it reflects negatively on me as a teacher that I wasn't able to communicate to them that they shouldn't do this, and I didn't communicate to them the right way to do it, even when all the rest of the students in the class do perfectly fine. I still feel this certain level of guilt about not getting that one student to where they needed to be, so where they felt comfortable enough to do the work and do the work the right way in order for them to learn something, because the ultimate goal is for them to learn something. Even if they don't get an A in the class, they get a C in the class. They started off doing D work and they work their way up to doing C work. That's improvement, that's growth, that's education. They learn something. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the student getting a C in the class as long as they've passed and they've learned something. But failing a student just feels like my own personal failure. And I really truly struggle with that every single time it happens. I don't ever want to fail a student. It feels horrible. It feels absolutely horrible. And in the number of years that I've been teaching at the college level now for at least like eight out of the 10 years or so that I've been teaching, give or take a year or two. I've lost track. I've lost track at this point. But of all the years that I've been teaching, I've really only had to fail a student a handful of times. Like I can count on one hand how many times I've had to completely fail a student. And while I should, again, kind of feel good about that, because that means that the rest of them learned something and got it and understood what I was trying to get across to them, it just feels so horrible when I have to fail someone. I just feel so guilty about it, and I don't know how to not feel guilty about it. I would love to just blame the student and be like, you suck, but that's not true. It's not true. They don't really suck. They're really usually great people. They're really nice people. They just didn't get something. And I don't know, especially as an online instructor now, I feel like I will never get the opportunity to know what they didn't understand. I can't sit down with them and talk to them and be like, hey, we had this problem, but tell me what the problem was. Like, how could I have helped you to avoid all of this? And I would venture to guess that this student's teachers are probably their teachers, their counselors, their parents, their the administrators. I'm sure they are all sitting there racking their brains, trying to figure out how this happened and what more they could have done to help this student. And a lot of times, the answer is nothing. Like, there are just individuals out there who cannot be helped, and there's nothing that you can do to support them or make them any better than they are. They're just going to be this way. But I don't know. I have a really hard time accepting that as the answer. Like, I just don't want that to be the answer. It's like, some people just suck and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't like that answer. I don't want that to be the answer. But anyway, just know that teachers are not idiots when it comes to this kind of stuff either. I mean, one of the things that the University of Chicago professor that was interviewed when I was watching her, I think it was on Lawrence O'Donnell the other night, but he talked to this University of Chicago professor, and she said that the first thing that she did was she ran the manifesto through a plagiarism checker, and that's how she figured out that it had been totally, almost completely lifted from a previous manifesto, and that it was not even remotely original. And that's what we do. Like, that's our job. And students seem like they don't understand that it is just that easy. You upload something into a plagiarism checker and it comes back and it tells you exactly where to find that information on websites. They can tell you whether or not it was submitted to another college or university, or sometimes even high school. I've had that happen where it was submitted for high school credit and the teachers had access to this plagiarism checker. It goes up into a database and it stays there. And so they can compare, we can compare this, the plagiarism checker can compare your work to everyone else's work who's ever written about this topic, and they can be like, oh no, this whole thing was lifted. And the worst that I've seen is a student who didn't even bother to put my name on the paper. They put another professor's name on the paper and just uploaded it to me. And I'm like, so was this an accident? Did you mean to submit it to this other professor and you turned it into me instead? Or was this totally intentional and you just were really lazy and couldn't even be bothered to change the name on the heading? So what? Why would you do that? Why did you do that? Because now I have to fail you, and you have to figure out, like, you have to write the assignment that I told you to write. Why did you do this? Like, you're back to square one, and you had, most of the assignments are 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to write a paper. Really? In 2 weeks you couldn't get something together that was even remotely original? You just turned it into another professor and didn't even change the name. The other really easy, obvious way is when you check the citation. So I can scroll all the way down to the bottom of the paper, and if the student has even attempted to put in some citations on a works cited page or a references page or whatever it's called in different formats, for us it's called works cited because I use MLA format. But on the works cited page, sometimes they don't change the date of access. So when you access a source, so let's just say a newspaper article in a database, the citation should typically include the date of access. So the date that you actually accessed that information and you read that article should be included in the citation. If it's 2022 and your citation, the date of access says 2019, dead giveaway. Like, that's a dead giveaway that you didn't put forth any effort to even maybe check and see if there was an update to that source that you cited in 2019. You didn't think that that was important. You didn't think that I would notice. You didn't think that I would have the time perhaps to go and check the citations. And I know that that happens too. Students will have teachers, I'm not throwing any high school teachers under the bus or saying anything, speaking ill of any high school teachers, but apparently there's some high school teachers out there who choose not to read the students' papers, apparently, and will just give them a grade for turning it in, or they'll read like the first paragraph and then assign a grade from that. I don't know, but I had a student the very first year that I was teaching who literally did like the Latin. You know how when you see like a template for an essay, sometimes it'll have this random like Latin stuff on the body of the paper. That's what they turned in. They changed like the first paragraph, and then the rest of it was all in Latin. And I was like, why would you do that? Why are you wasting my time? Like, I actually had to sit there and try and figure out why this was in Latin, and was I missing something? Oh my God. Y'all, I have some crazy teaching stories. For those of you who do not follow like honest teacher vibes or board teachers and stuff on social media, you are missing out, because teachers go through just the absolute wildest, craziest stuff all the time. And I am not the only one, but I definitely have some super crazy teacher stories where, like that one, where students are just wild. They're so wild. They try the craziest stuff sometimes, and you're just like, why? What possessed you to do something like that, and why? Did you really think that I was just going to give you an A on a paper that was partially in Latin? Dude, like, it's so funny. It's funny, but it's not funny, because when I sat down with the student, he was really like, oh, I just didn't think that you were gonna read my paper. What was why? Why did you think I was just gonna gloss over your paper and pretend like that was okay? Boy, bye. No, that's not how this works. Oh my gosh. That was an incredible semester for me. It was so much fun. I had so much fun. All right, I'm gonna try and do something fancy, and forgive me if I go all sorts of wrong on this one. I'm gonna use some glitter primer and see if this works. Don't laugh. Anyway, teachers have all sorts of different ways to figure out if a student has plagiarized or not, but it is definitely becoming more difficult to figure it out, because as one of my friends, who shall not be named, pointed out, you can purchase papers online now, and you could, like, original papers online now. And this is something that one of my colleagues actually presented during a professional development session years ago, where he showed us how easy it was. They showed us how easy it was to go just on Twitter and say something about how, oh, you know, I hate my teacher for assigning me this stupid paper, this stupid history paper, and it's due on Friday, and I don't want to write it. And then these bots will answer and ask if you want somebody to write the paper. And it's just that easy to just go on there and complain about your professor and have a bot contact you and say, hey, I'll write your paper for you. The first, 50 words are free. And then after that, you pay per word or whatever, $10, $15, $20, whatever for a paper. And I'm like, are you serious? But it gets worse. So when you reply to one of the bots and you're like, yeah, sure, okay, write me 50 pages and turn it in, they do it. They'll send it back to you so that you can see it, you can proof it. And then from there, they'll send you to like websites where you can, pay for the services. You can see what other services they offer, and there are entire websites that are dedicated to just that, like just providing original papers two people who just don't want to write their own work, like just don't want to do their own work. So they outsource it, which is both brilliant and frightening, because really, but the most frightening thing that we saw during that presentation was that there was actually a service that would write your thesis for you for like grad school or for a PhD program. They would write your thesis, and for an extra like $5,000 or something like that, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, something like that, $8,000 something dollars, they would teach you how to defend the thesis. What? This is wrong on so many levels. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how wrong this is on so many levels. Because for one, if nothing else, it has me side-eyeing all of my colleagues like, did you do this? Did you plagiarize your paper? Like, who does this? Who are these people out here doing this? Because I know for certain that I wouldn't have it in me to do something like that. I would feel so guilty. Like, it would eat me alive. There's no way I could do something like that. I just couldn't do it. And who knows, maybe that's why I haven't been able to get into a PhD program, is because there are people out here paying bots to write their papers for them and writing apparently really good papers that they've been taught how to defend. And I have neither the money nor the interest in doing anything like that. I like doing research. I like writing. I have not gotten a chance to do it lately because I'm so busy trying to teach other people how to do this properly. But that was one of the things that drew me to teaching English, and why I wanted to teach composition in the first place is because I loved it so much. I just truly love the process of conducting research, and I love it when my students get excited about the topics that they research and they start to find more and more and more. And I get those emails every now and then. It doesn't happen too often, but every now and then I'll get an email from a student. They're like, so Professor, I know you said that we only needed to write like 5 pages, but what if I have like 7 pages or 8 pages? And I'm like, well, I mean, if you feel like you need to have 8 full pages of work, then okay. But I would talk to a tutor, or set up a meeting with me during my office hours to discuss any places where you might have redundant information, or you might just be able to cut some information out that you don't really need, that's not integral to the argument or the point of this piece, because I usually have anywhere between 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, like 150 students or something every semester. And crunch time, the end of the year, when everyone is submitting final drafts, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot for me to sit down and read. And so, you've probably all seen those memes where, you have a high school teacher that's like, your college teachers are not going to put up with this, turning in only half the work and whatever. And you get to college and your professor's like, I'm not reading anything over 5 pages. And it's true. Like, if I say 5 pages, oftentimes that is the limit, especially on the first writing assignment of the semester. I'm cutting you off, because part of the point of the assignments is concise writing, making sure that you're not just including a bunch of random, unrelated, unnecessary information. So it's not just that I'm being difficult and being, a bitch or whatever, and saying, I don't want to read your work, it's too long, cut it down, I'm not reading all of that. It's that a lot of that extra is just that. It's just extra. It's not really necessary. You don't need all of that information. And so, yeah, I will tell a student in a second, no, I'm not reading 8 pages. Is it a necessary 8 pages? Do you really need all of the stuff past page 5? Or can you cut some of it down and make it more concise? And that's really what it's about. It's not that we're just being difficult. It's that it's really 9 times out of 10, it's totally unnecessary information. And the students think that it's important, and I'm glad that they have enjoyed reading all of the research that they've done, but it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary to include all of that. And it's not necessary for them to include like really long quotes and stuff in work either, which also accounts for quite a bit of the overage. Most times is that students will have like, you know, a whole page quote that they've not lifted. I mean, they use citations, they use quotation marks, they use the right format and everything, but I don't need to read what you read. I need a concise version of your research. I need the important bits. I need the Cliff Notes version, but your name, not actually Cliff. Like I need you to make this work for your paper. And a paragraph that's the same size as your paragraph, I don't need a quote that's the same size as the paragraph before it or after it where you explain the quote. No, we're not doing that. We can't do that. I don't have time for that. No, absolutely not. So that said, that's usually the real reason why people do what they do, and that's just the way I feel about it. So I'm curious to know if any of you have heard of any of this. There are just so many different ways that students can plagiarize these days, because it's just out there. Like there's so much out there on the internet these days. It's easy. It's so easy to get access to stuff. You just, if you read it and you processed it and you understand it, there's a way for you to properly put it in your own words to make it yours, to quote properly from these sources and put your own little spin on it, or agree to it or whatever, without you just completely lifting it from another source. It's just it's so unnecessary. And if you are, and part of the problem too, I think, is that when it comes to a lot of these incidents with shooters, with domestic terrorism, we don't want to call it what it is, and we don't want to say that it's as organized as it actually is. And it's very organized. It's not a lone wolf acting out or acting alone. It is a group of people that share a common belief in something, and they all have the same opinion because it all comes from one place. It's not at all original. And that's, again, I think it's part of the problem. We keep associating these things with individual actors when, now there's a push to say, like, with, they're going out, the government is, I guess, now going after Discord and some other social media companies, saying that this information was not properly moderated online, and that these people were allowed to act in this way online on these different platforms, and so that they're trying to hold them responsible. for the actions of these individuals. But this has been going on for a very long time. And whether it's on social media, and you shut down one platform, it'll pop up in someplace else. But ultimately, it is not a single person with a single idea. And I think that this is a perfect example of how it isn't one person with one idea. It is many people with one idea. And it's just not original. It's not an original thought. It's not an original idea. It is being shared across social media with many different people. It is easily accessible online for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to access, and to just continue to share and reshare the information over and over and over again without adding anything to the conversation, without adding any sort of original plan or thought. It's shared. It's group sharing. It's group thinking. It's just not at all. It's just not original. And that's the most uninteresting thing about it, I think, is just that it's not original. And I don't want anyone to come up with some sort of sadistic original thought, but then you need to call it what it is. You need to say that it's not an original thought. You need to say that it is a legitimate social problem that is a result of this being allowed to continue. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to any of this. It seems like it's a systemic problem, but people aren't willing to say that either, that it's a systemic problem and that it's been going on for a really long time. We don't want to teach history the way that it should be taught. We don't want to say that it's racist or that it stems from racism, but it absolutely does. And now this whole racist ideology is causing a whole lot of problems, like just so many problems. And if you haven't read about or seen anything about this whole replacement theory, Lord have mercy, I can't keep up with all these theories, but my goodness. Now we have replacement theory. Not new, again, totally borrowed, lifted, whatever. Not at all original, but here we are. Yeah, go and fun fact for today was about, oh man, I feel like this wandered a little bit, but fun fact for today was about plagiarism and composition and how that plagiarism all relates to what's going on in society, and that young people are being taught to not be creative and not have original ideas, original thoughts about anything really. They are just being taught to regurgitate ideas that they read online or they hear about at home or in these fringe groups wherever they may be, which again I feel like most of them are hiding up, not even hiding in plain sight on the internet, and they're just allowed to continue because we're allowing them to continue. We're not encouraging we're not encouraging children to have original thoughts and ideas, and not just lift stuff from other people who thought that first. I want students to have original ideas about stuff. I hope I'm not the only one that wants that for children, for our children, for the future. But anyway, this is my face. This is my finished face. I don't know what I'm going to do with this face today. I'm supposed to, I think there's some sort of an event later on today where I might get to show off my face or whatever. Yeah, it turned out okay. I look like a human being, so there's that. Yeah, anyway, something today on Fun Fact Friday, and please feel free to share your thoughts about plagiarism or about these bad actors, these lone wolves. I mean, it's organized. Let's be honest, it's organized. And any solutions to the problem? I'm not entirely sure what the solution is on this one because it seems really ingrained in American society, and I think reversing stuff that's very ingrained in American society is a hard thing to do. I can't think of anything that has been reversed yet. And this is a big one. You know, racism is a big one. It's a huge problem. Huge problem. And anyone that says that this isn't racism or it isn't related to racism, I have to say that you're wrong on this one. I'm willing to listen and entertain another thought about it, another perspective, but I don't see how it's not racism. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful rest of your weekend. Is this a holiday weekend? I don't know anything about anything anymore. I'm not working right now, so if it's a holiday weekend, then enjoy your holiday. If it's not, then just enjoy your weekend. If you are a hairdresser in Chicago and you want to tackle this, any of my stylist friends, if you want to fly out here to Virginia and tackle this hair, look at this. This is ridiculous. Hold on. I'm going to pull it forward so you can see. Do you see this? This is... It's so long right now. And this was after I took a razor to it today. I took a razor to the ends of it, and I actually clipped off some of it today. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will do another fun fact next Friday, as long as something isn't pressing on my calendar. Don't forget to check me out on the Professor's Kitchen podcast, so the Office Hours podcast. I will link that in the comments below. I will also link the Professor's Kitchen YouTube channel so that you can check out the podcast and all of my other videos on there as well. And I would love to hear if you have any suggestions for next Friday's fun fact. You can share that with me in the comments too. Yeah, have a good Friday, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.